This presentation is an analysis of August Wilson's play, Fences. In the 1980s, Wilson wrote a series of 10 plays, each representing the African American experience of one decade in the 20th century. Fences represents the 1950s. The play depicts the 1950s as a time of hope, when the end of segregation was just beginning and new opportunities for African Americans were starting to open up. The play takes place in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, in a predominantly black neighborhood in 1957, the year Hank Aaron led the Milwaukee Braves to the World Series, beating the New York Giants. This event is symbolic of a time in which opportunities for African Americans were just beginning to expand. The protagonist of the play, Troy Maxson, is a tragic hero in that he never reaps the rewards of his own personal sacrifices, as he is prevented by the limits placed upon his race during his lifetime. Troy is a very talented baseball player, but is prevented from playing in the major leagues because of racial segregation, forcing him to play in the much lower paying, though more talented, Negro leagues. As a result, he ends up being a garbage collector and works very hard to barely support his family. He also fights to become the first African American driver where he works, but gains this right too late in his career to financially benefit. Troy is a bitter man who has been the victim of racial discrimination and who has allowed his anger to blind him to the new opportunities that are beginning to open up toward African Americans, including to his own children. Troy was the child of an angry and abusive sharecropper who barely survived his difficult life in the Jim Crow South during one of the most racist periods of U.S. history. As a teenager, Troy runs away from his abusive father, coming north to Pittsburgh, and survives as a homeless, jobless man through theft, for which he ends up in prison. When he's released, he becomes a very talented professional baseball player, but is forced to play in the Negro League due to the segregation of the baseball leagues of his day. As a garbage man, the only way that he is able to pay off his home is by using his brother Gabe's disability check, which makes Gabe end up institutionalized. Troy refuses to allow his son Corey to take advantage of a football scholarship out of his fear that his son is going to go through the same disappointment he had in his own life, even though times have changed enough by then that he wasn't likely to be discriminated against to the same degree that Troy was. Rose is Troy's devoted and loving wife and the mother of Corey and the stepmother of Lyons. She is a kind and patient woman who loves her family. She sees the fence in the story as a symbol of keeping those she loves safe and close to her. When she finds out that Troy has fathered the child Raynell with another woman, she is angry and ends her wifely commitment to Troy, but still raises Raynell as her own because she does not believe in punishing the child for her father's sins. She also defends Troy to Corey when he refuses to go to his father's funeral, even though Troy has not been a faithful husband. Gabe is Troy's disabled brother who was injured as a soldier in World War II. He believes he is the angel Gabriel and plays the trumpet, sings, and sells fruit in the neighborhood. He is made childlike by his war disability, and he is sent to a mental institution when his brother Troy, due to his illiteracy, accidentally signs him away. Gabe's disability check is what Troy uses to pay off his house. Corey is Troy and Rose's son. He is a talented football player and a hard-working boy with lots of potential. He is denied the opportunity to go to college by his father and resents the father so much for denying him this opportunity and cheating on his mother that he refuses at first to go to his father's funeral after he dies. Corey joins the Marines when he cannot go to college. He is ambitious and has more opportunity than his father had, even though Troy ends up being one of Corey's biggest obstacles to opportunity. Lyons is Troy's adult son from his first marriage. He is a musician and a bit of a loafer, as he asks his father for money each payday, even as an adult. He grew up in Troy's absence, as Troy was in jail for most of Lyons' childhood. Raynell is the illegitimate daughter of Troy and his girlfriend Alberta. Alberta dies in childbirth and Rose raises Raynell. She represents hope for the future, as she is the only child of Troy who will not have been scarred by his mistakes. The theme of the play is the damaging impact of segregation and other forms of racism, and the hope for improvement in race relations in the future. The play is full of symbolism. The fence that Troy builds has different symbolic meanings to different characters. It represents a means of trapping or fencing Troy in, perhaps explaining why it is taking so long for him to finish building it. Troy feels trapped by his responsibilities to his family and perhaps cheats on Rose as a means of escape from responsibility and obligation. To Rose, the fence represents a means of keeping her loved ones protected and close to her, thus explaining why she wants it built. Another important symbol is baseball, which represents life to Troy, as he uses baseball imagery to explain life. For example, when he tells Corey that he will get 3 strikes and then he'll be kicked out of his house. Troy is also a talented baseball player, even though he is limited in his ability to reach his full potential due to segregation. Gardens and seeds are symbols of the importance of patience and nurturing, 2 traits Troy lacks but Rose embodies. Rose, whose name is, of course, the name of a flower, tells Troy after hearing of his affair, an illegitimate child, "I took all my feelings, my wants and my needs, my dreams, and I buried them inside of you. I planted a seed and watched and prayed over it. I planted myself inside you and waited to bloom. And it didn't take me no 18 years to find out the soil was hard and rocky, and it wasn't never gonna bloom. But I held on to you, Troy." She also teaches Raynell the importance of patience and nurturing when she tells her about the seeds they planted in the garden. "You just have to give it a chance. It'll grow."